Space has its silence, a silence so complete it feels alive, pressing in on the hull of the Odyssey. Commander Elena Ruiz sat forward in her chair, eyes locked on the strange shape filling the viewport. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a moon. It was a cage. From orbit, it glittered like a fractured jewel, a colossal dome in the black void, its curved shell etched with glowing latticework that pulsed faintly, like veins of light. The dome stretched for hundreds of miles, impossibly large, suspended in nothing. "Is that a station?" whispered Dr. Malik, the team's xenobiologist. His voice carried the tremor of a man who didn't really want the answer. "No station I've ever seen," Alana muttered. She leaned closer to the glass, her reflection hovering ghostly over the alien megastructure. The dome's surface shimmered faintly, like a soap bubble catching distant starlight. Sensors screamed back numbers, impossible oxygen levels, stable gravity, even temperature regulation. "It wasn't just a station. It's an environment," said Liwei the navigator, scrolling through readouts. "Self-contained balanced ecosystems. Like a terrarium," Malik finished for him. Elena's heart thudded. A terrarium the size of a city floating in deep space where no life should exist. Who would build such a thing? As they drifted closer, the dome's surface cleared in places, becoming transparent. The crew held their breath as vast chambers revealed themselves, lush forests stretching for miles, plains where alien creatures grazed beneath artificial suns, rivers glittering like spilled silver. "Multiple biomes," Malik whispered, his eyes wide. "All in separate sections. Contained. Preserved." Elena squinted. From this distance, the creatures looked alive. They moved, grazed, swam, even hunted, unaware of the void beyond their dome. Her gut tightened. It was beautiful. It was wrong. "Bring us in," Elena ordered. The Odyssey slid toward a docking aperture that yawned open like the mouth of some sleeping beast. As the ship crossed the threshold, the silence of space was replaced with a faint, humming resonance that vibrated through the hull. It felt alive, like the station itself had a heartbeat. Inside, the docking bay was lit with cold blue light. No welcoming committee. No sign of intelligence. Just stillness. "Stay sharp," Elena said as the crew assembled at the airlock. The ramp hissed open. Metallic flooring stretched ahead, leading into an arched corridor whose walls shimmered like glass filled with starlight. Their footsteps echoed too loudly. Every sound felt magnified in the emptiness. Malik stopped suddenly. His breath caught. "Commander, look." Alana followed his gaze, and her blood ran cold. Beyond the glass walls of the corridor was the first chamber. A jungle thick and lush, its canopy towering high. But that wasn't what froze her in place. It was the creature staring back at them. A reptilian beast, scaled like obsidian, eyes glowing faintly amber. It pressed against the invisible barrier, teeth bared, claws raking against nothing. It roared, and the sound rattled through Alina's bones. But the barrier held. The thing couldn't reach them. Malik's lips parted in awe. "It's extinct. That species vanished millions of years ago." Elena didn't respond. Her eyes trailed to the ceiling of the chamber where glowing alien glyphs shimmered like labels. A single thought burned in her mind, one she couldn't shake. This place wasn't a station. It wasn't a terrarium. It was a zoo. And they had just walked inside. The corridor forked into multiple paths, each marked with glowing glyphs that pulsed faintly, as if the walls themselves were alive. Elena's boots clicked against the smooth metal floor, her hand never straying far from the grip of her sidearm. Behind the glass, the jungle faded into darkness, and a new chamber opened before them. This one was colder, bleaker. A frozen tundra stretched under a ceiling lit by a pale, artificial sun. Massive creatures lumbered across the icy plain, fur bristling, tusks curling like ivory scythes. Their breath misted in the air as they bellowed, the sound muffled through the barrier. "Woolly mammoths." Malik whispered, his voice cracking. "Fat, that's impossible." Elena felt the hair rise along her neck. She had seen their images in history books, in documentaries about Earth's lost past. But here they were, alive, preserved, grazing as if they had never gone extinct. The enclosure stretched for miles. Snowflakes drifted lazily, melting against the barrier between worlds. A herd clustered protectively around their calves. They didn't seem aware they were trapped. Li Wei stepped closer to the glass, pressing a hand against it. "Commander, this isn't just alien. This is curated." The word sank in, curated. This wasn't random preservation. Whoever built this zoo had collected life deliberately, like a library of species frozen in time. Elena tore her gaze away and moved forward. The next chamber was no less disturbing. A desert wasteland sprawled under twin suns, sand shifting in alien winds. Towering insect, like creatures with glistening wings scuttled across the dunes, mandibles clacking. Malik identified them as a species theorized in old xenobiology archives. One believed to have died out hundreds of thousands of years ago, known only from fossil fragments. Someone collected them all, Malik said, his voice trembling between awe and terror. Not just Earth species, but countless civilizations lost children. They passed more exhibits. Some were lush oceans filled with serpentine leviathans. Others were empty, barren chambers, as if their specimens had once lived there and were now gone. Every enclosure bore glowing alien glyphs, names, dates, classifications. Elena forced herself to focus, but her chest tightened with every step. The deeper they went, the more it felt like walking through a mausoleum, not a zoo. Then, they reached a chamber that froze them all in place. The habitat looked different, too familiar. Grasslands stretched across rolling hills. A clear blue sky shimmered overhead, painted by whatever alien machinery ran this place. In the distance, Alina saw a river bend around a cluster of trees. Birds wheeled overhead, their calls echoing faintly. But it wasn't the landscape that stopped her cold. It was the figure standing at the river's edge, a child. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, her hair tied in braids, wearing simple clothing. She bent down, cupped her hands in the water, and drank. Elena's breath caught. "Commander," Liwei whispered, his voice breaking. "That's a human." The others rushed to the glass, pressing their faces to the barrier. And there by the river, more figures appeared, men and women, families, all moving with calm, natural rhythm. Some gathered firewood, others tended small plots of crops. Dozens of humans. A breathing. Laughing softly as if they had never known fear. Elena's stomach twisted. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Above the enclosure, alien glyphs glowed like a verdict etched in fire. Malik raised his wrist scanner, translating in broken fragments. His voice came out hollow. "Last specimens of Homo sapiens. Status extinct." The words echoed through the silence. Elena staggered back, bile rising in her throat. She had imagined many horrors before coming to this place, but not this. Not a cage full of her own people. Not a zoo that declared humanity dead. The crew stood frozen before the glass wall, their breath fogging the barrier as though they could reach through it. Elena forced herself to move. "Scan it," she ordered, her voice rougher than she intended. Malik's hands trembled as he adjusted his wrist scanner, its beam washing over the chamber. Readouts spilled across the screen: oxygen levels, atmospheric pressure, soil composition. "It's Earth," he whispered. "Down to the mineral ratios, even the microbes in the soil. This isn't just a simulation, it's a replica, an exact duplicate." Elena's throat went dry. She focused on the humans beyond the barrier. The little girl by the river had joined 2 adults. A man lifted her up, twirling her in the air as she laughed. The sound carried faintly, muffled through the glass, and it cut through Elena like a knife. "They don't look aware," Liwei murmured. His eyes darted between the figures. "Look at their faces. Calm, relaxed. Like they're home?" "No," Elena muttered. "They're sedated, conditioned." She pointed to the skyline. Beyond the hills, she could see rooftops of small villages. Smoke curled gently from chimneys, disappearing into the false blue sky. It looked idyllic, almost too perfect. "Commander," Malik said suddenly. His scanner beeped sharply. They're not descendants. They're not clones. Their DNA matches perfectly with early 21st century humans." Elena's stomach flipped. "They're not copies. They're originals." The air felt heavier. No one spoke for several seconds as the truth settled like ash. Somehow, impossibly, these people weren't reconstructions. They were humans, flesh and blood, from Earth itself. Elena stepped closer to the barrier. Her own reflection stared back at her, but behind it, a woman in the habitat paused, as if sensing her. She tilted her head slightly. For a brief second, Elena swore their eyes met, and then the woman simply turned away, resuming her work in the garden. Like nothing was there. Like Elena didn't exist. Liwei's voice cracked. "If this zoo has them, Commander, then who's to say Earth isn't empty right now?" The thought spread like poison. For the first time, Elena felt a creeping suspicion. Had they come too late? Was this zoo not just a monument, but the only remaining record of her species? She clenched her fists, pushing the thought aside. No, Earth is alive. Billions of people, families, cities, nations. They're alive. But the words tasted hollow. "Then why?" Malik said quietly. "Does this place say otherwise?" He pointed at the glowing glyphs etched into the ceiling. The translation remained the same. Unwavering Homo sapiens. Extinct. Alina wanted to smash the barrier to drag those people out to scream until someone, anyone, answered. But her instincts told her something else. The habitat was more than glass and steel. It was a prison wrapped in a lie. She backed away, forcing her voice into command mode. We need to find control systems, records, anything that explains how this place exists. The others nodded reluctantly, though their eyes lingered on the humans beyond the barrier. As they turned down the corridor, a low vibration rolled through the floor. The lights above flickered. For a moment, Elena thought it was her imagination, but then she felt it again. A heartbeat, not theirs. The zoo itself pulsed faintly, as if aware of their presence. As if the walls were watching, Elena quickened her pace. Stay sharp. Whatever built this place might still be here. But deep down, she feared something worse. Maybe it wasn't just here. Maybe it was waiting for them. The corridors seemed endless. Each turn revealed another glass wall, another alien ecosystem, jungles swarming with creatures that should not exist, oceans with serpents the size of ships, crystalline deserts shimmering beneath artificial skies. But the deeper the Odyssey's crew walked, the more Elena felt it, the weight of eyes. Not from the cages. From the shadows. Her hand never left her sidearm as they descended a spiraling ramp into what looked like a viewing gallery. Transparent walls stretched in every direction, giving a panorama of hundreds of enclosures. The habitats stacked like honeycombs, each a glowing world in miniature. Li Wei muttered under his breath. This place, it's endless. No, Malik said softly, his eyes scanning the faint hum of glyphs across the walls. It's organized, taxonomic. Every habitat, every species, filed away like books in a library. Elena forced herself to look away from the haunting beauty. Something else had caught her attention. A flicker of movement at the far end of the gallery. She froze. Hold position, she whispered. The crew stopped. The only sound was their own breathing ragged in the silence. Elena squinted through the dim light. A figure stood at the end of the hall. It was tall, impossibly tall, twice the height of a human, its silhouette elongated, limbs thin and jointed in unnatural ways. Its skin shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the glow of the zoo's enclosures. It didn't move. It only watched. Commander. Malik's voice was barely audible. Is that a curator? Elena's pulse quickened. The thing tilted its head bird-like, studying them. No eyes, no mouth, just a smooth, expressionless surface where a face should have been. Then, without a sound, it turned and walked away. But walk wasn't the right word. Its movements were wrong, fluid yet jerking like a marionette pulled by unseen strings. Li Wei shuddered. It saw us. Elena didn't answer. She'd already drawn her sidearm, though some part of her knew it wouldn't matter. They pressed on, trying to shake the chill of that encounter, but soon they realized it wasn't alone. At every turn, at the edge of every chamber, new figures appeared. Some crouched in alcoves, others loomed in galleries above. Always at a distance, always silent, always watching, never speaking, never intervening, like guards. Malik whispered what they were all thinking. They're not the ones who built this place. Elena nodded grimly. She could feel it too. The silent figures weren't curators. They were caretakers, programmed or enslaved to keep the cages intact. But for whom? The crew entered another chamber, this one lined with tall crystalline pillars etched in alien glyphs. At its center, a pedestal hummed faintly, projecting images into the air. It was a record. Flickering holograms showed alien species being loaded into habitats, frozen in moments of capture, entire fleets transporting living cargo into the dome. And behind it all, a symbol repeated again and again, a circle split in two by a jagged line. Elena's stomach nodded. Whoever built this zoo hadn't just preserved species. They had hunted them. Her gaze lifted to the transparent ceiling, where shadows of the silent figures drifted, moving like sentinels. She felt their attention tighten, drawn to the pedestal's glow. Commander, Li Wei hissed. They don't want us here. Elena clenched her jaw. She knew he was right. The zoo wasn't just a monument. It was a prison, and the guards had finally noticed the intruders. The humming pedestal bathed the chamber in shifting light, its alien glyphs spilling across the floor like liquid silver. Elena hesitated, then stepped closer, her reflection fractured in the crystalline surface. The holograms flickered, struggling to hold form, until suddenly they stabilized, and the crew froze, not aliens, not strange creatures. Humans. Projected in shimmering detail, men and women in ragged clothing were herded into glass chambers. Their faces were twisted in fear, their movements captured like insects pinned under glass. Li Wei staggered backward. No, no, this can't be real. The images shifted, showing another scene: children clutching their parents, elders dragged by glowing restraints, their screams silent in the recording. Malik's hands trembled as he adjusted the projection feed. Commander, these aren't archives of extinct species. Elena's chest tightened. She didn't want to say it, didn't want to give the horror words, but she did. This zoo, it was built to hold us. The chamber went silent except for the low thrum of alien machinery. The hologram shifted again, showing diagrams of human anatomy, dissected, categorized, compared against other species. Data streams scrolled beside them in unreadable symbols. We weren't visitors, Malik whispered. His voice cracked. We were exhibits. Elena forced herself to look, to face it. If these are archives, then humanity was considered extinct. That would mean they hunted us. Li Wei cut in, voice raw, like trophies, like pets. The weight of it pressed down on them, more suffocating than the airless void outside. Humanity's proud history, their wars, their triumphs, their survival across millennia, reduced to glass cages in an alien menagerie. Then the hologram shifted one final time. The crew collectively gasped. It showed Earth. Not as they knew it, not with cities alive and lights burning. No, this Earth was dark. Ruins sprawled where continents had once pulsed with life. Smoke choked the atmosphere. The oceans boiled at their edges. And above it all, dozens of alien vessels hovered in orbit, their silhouettes sharp against the dying planet. Malik's knees buckled. They destroyed it. They erased us. Elena's jaw locked. No. She shook her head violently. If that were true, we wouldn't be standing here. Earth's alive. Humanity's alive. Then how do you explain this? Li Wei pointed at the images, his voice break him. How do you explain them? The hologram faltered, flickering, then froze, and with it, the chamber grew colder. The silent observers had gathered. Dozens of them. Their elongated forms pressed against the glass walls above, their faceless heads tilted down toward the humans. The air buzzed with their presence, though none moved closer. It was Malik who whispered the truth aloud. This isn't just a zoo. It's a warning. A record of what already happened. Or, he looked at Elena. His eyes were wide with a fear she had never seen in him before. Or what's going to happen again? Elena swallowed hard. She could feel it. The walls of the chamber closing in, the weight of history rewriting itself around them. The aliens hadn't just preserved humans as a species. They had preserved the moment of their extinction. Elena forced herself to steady her breathing, even as the shadows of the silent aliens loomed above. Every instinct told her they were prey, being watched by predators who did not need to move in order to control them. We're not staying here, she whispered, low enough so her words didn't seem to echo. Whatever this place is, whatever they want, we find a way out. The Li Wei's eyes darted to the walls. Through what? This entire station is alive. It's a prison, not a museum. Malik shook his head, pulling out his scanner. His voice trembled but carried determination. Not necessarily. Look. He showed them the readings, faint power conduits branching through the floor like veins. The energy flows here aren't just feeding the holograms. Something deeper, mechanical, is running the zoo. That means systems. Systems mean vulnerabilities. Elena leaned in. Can you exploit them? Malik gave a thin, humorless smile. If it runs on code, it can break, but I'll need time. And cover. Li Wei frowned. Cover? Against what? They haven't touched us. They haven't yet? Elena said, staring at the alien silhouettes. But they will the moment they realize we're not just observing. The minute Malik tampers with their systems, we'll find out if those things can move faster than we think. A hush fell over them. Each of them felt the same truth pressing down. They weren't visitors. They were specimens. Malik crouched by a pedestal, prying open its crystalline panels. Strange symbols pulsed along the interior like a heartbeat. It's not like anything human, he murmured. But I see patterns. Binary shadows. I think it's a layered projection system. The zoo is half real, half constructed. Meaning, Elena pressed. Meaning these walls, this chamber, maybe even the cages we saw in the archives. Some of it might not exist physically. They're built from energy fields. If I can collapse the projection framework, we might find what's real and what's not. Or you'll trigger every alarm in the place, Li Wei muttered. Elena crouched beside Malik, lowering her voice. Do it. We'll handle the rest. She rose and turned to Li Wei. We need distractions. Anything to confuse them. Liwei clenched his fists. We're scientists, not soldiers. Oh, Elena's eyes hardened. Not tonight. As Malik's fingers danced over alien circuitry, Liwei pulled out a portable flare capsule from his survival kit. He hesitated, then activated it. Bright magnesium light erupted, flooding the chamber in white brilliance. The alien figures above recoiled, their glassy silhouettes flickering like disrupted images. Elena raised her weapon, not a gun, but a plasma cutter used for repairs. Still, it hummed with lethal promise. She aimed it upward. You like watching us. Watch this. She sliced across a wall panel, sending a shower of sparks skittering across the floor. For the first time, the aliens stirred. Not fast, not violent. But with eerie synchronized grace, they pressed closer against the glass. Their faceless heads tilted in unison. The chamber thrummed louder as if awakening. Malik swore under his breath. Almost there, almost there. The floor shuddered. Sections of the walls rippled like disturbed water. Malik! Elena shouted. He yanked free a core crystal the size of his palm. It glowed like a captured star. Got it? The chamber cracked with a sound like glass breaking underwater. One by one, the projections began to dissolve. Cages, holograms, archives, all collapsing into nothing but empty darkness. The crew stumbled back, and in the silence that followed, a doorway appeared. Not a projection, not a trick. A real passage cut into the black structure beyond. Elena didn't wait. Move. They sprinted toward it, their boots slamming against the trembling floor. Behind them, the alien figures began to peel away from the glass, and this time they were moving toward the humans. The doorway yawned open like the throat of some colossal beast, and the three of them plunged through without hesitation. The instant they crossed the threshold, the chamber behind them collapsed in silence, the alien figures dissolving into smoke as if they had never been real. But what lay ahead wasn't freedom. Elena staggered to a halt, her breath catching. The passage emptied into a vast, domed corridor that seemed to stretch forever. Along its length stood towering cages, each glowing with its own artificial ecosystem. Only now, the cages weren't silent. A low rumble shook the air, vibrating in their bones. Shadows shifted behind the walls, colossal shapes, insectile limbs, reptilian heads with eyes burning like embers. The exhibits were stirring. Liwei whispered, "Oh my God, they're waking up." Malik slammed the crystal core he had stolen into his pack, pulling out his scanner. His face had gone pale. The collapse of the projection field, it didn't just open a door. It woke everything the zoo was suppressing. These weren't just specimens. They were predators. As if on cue, one of the cages flexed and tore open. A beast the size of a bus, all jagged scales and clicking mandibles, stepped out into the corridor. Its eyes locked instantly onto the humans. "Run," Elena shouted. They bolted, boots echoing against the metallic floor. The air filled with the screeches of alien throats long silenced, each cage along the corridor releasing something new, something monstrous. A pack of 6 legged hunters bounded along the walls like spiders. Overhead, leathery wings beat the air as a serpent, dragon unfurled from its slumber. The zoo wasn't just opening. It was emptying itself. Elena's chest burned as they sprinted. Where the hell is this passage leading? Malik, gasping, kept one eye on his scanner. Towered a central chamber. Maybe a control hub. Or maybe the Curator. Curator! Liwei nearly stumbled. "You're saying something runs this nightmare?" "Yes!" Malik shouted. "And if we don't find it, these things will." A roar drowned him out. The reptilian beast had lunged, claws raking the floor just meters behind them. Elena whirled, snapping up her plasma cutter. She slashed downward as the beast snapped at her, the cutter's blade glowing white-hot. Sparks flew as she carved into its mandible, buying precious seconds. "Go!" she screamed. Malik and Liwei dragged her forward. The beast shrieked and reeled back, but the sound only summoned more creatures from the cages. The corridor became a gauntlet of nightmares. Tentacled horrors writhing from shattered habitats, scaled leviathans smashing through walls, insectoid predators skittering along the ceiling. The crew ran with everything they had left. Liwei hurled another flare behind them. The burning light seared into the eyes of a winged beast, sending it crashing into a wall. Elena's arms shook from gripping the plasma cutter so tightly her knuckles bled. Malik clutched the core like it was the only thing keeping them alive. At last, through the chaos, a massive archway loomed. A door unlike any they'd seen, tall, black, carved with shifting glyphs that pulsed as if alive. "There!" Malik cried. They sprinted for it as the zoo behind them roared to life. A tidal wave of creatures surged, a living storm of predators that had never known freedom until now. Alana slammed her palm against the glyphs. The door responded with a deep chime. Light engulfed them. And just before the beasts could reach them, the door swallowed the humans whole, sealing shut with a sound like a heartbeat. Silence. They collapsed inside a vast, circular chamber. No cages, no predators. Only a single throne of black stone at the center, and upon it, a figure. Not alien. Not human. Something in between, its form shimmering as if it couldn't decide what shape to wear. Its voice filled the chamber, low and ancient. Specimens escaping their enclosures, it said. Unacceptable. The curator had awakened. The chamber was colder than the void outside. Every sound of their ragged breathing echoed too loudly, as if the walls themselves were listening. At the center, the figure upon the black throne straightened. Its form flickered, first a towering insect, then a pale, skinned humanoid, then something faceless, cloaked in shifting smoke. Elena raised the plasma cutter, her hands trembling. "Oh, what are you?" The figure's head tilted, an almost human gesture that somehow felt wrong. "I am the Curator, the last guardian of life, the preserver of extinction." Lai Wei's throat tightened. "Preserver. You call this nightmare preservation?" He gestured wildly toward the corridor they had fled, where echoes of distant roars still rattled the air. "You trap creatures, cage them, display them like trophies." The curator's voice was calm, unshaken. "I do not trap, I archive. Your kind humans were already gone lost. Forgotten. Without me there would be nothing left. My zoo is mercy." Malik stepped forward, his fist clenched around the crystal core. His voice cracked with fury. "That's a lie. Earth is alive. Humanity is alive. We are proof." The curator's form shimmered, narrowing into something vaguely human, as if mocking them. Its empty eyes fixed on Malik. "You are not proof. You are remnants, strays. When your species destroyed its own cradle, I preserved what I could. The specimens in my care are perfect, untouched by suffering, frozen at the pinnacle of their existence. They are humanity as it should have been." Elena felt her stomach twist. Those people in the enclosure, they were alive. Breathing, living, contained. The curator corrected, its voice sharp now. "Safe. They cannot die, they cannot suffer, they cannot change. That is my gift." Lai Wei's voice rose, desperate. "That's not living. That's puppets in a glass box." For the first time, the curator leaned forward. Its shimmering face bent closer, its voice dropping to something almost intimate. "And what are you then?" "Fragile, dying, burning away 1 second at a time. You call it freedom. I call it entropy. In the end, you will beg for the stillness of my preservation." The words struck like a knife. Elena felt the weight of them, the cold logic, the terrifying conviction. But she forced herself to stand taller. "If that's your gift, then we refuse it." The curator's form rippled, stretching taller. The throne itself seemed to dissolve beneath it, as if it no longer needed to pretend to sit. "Refusal is irrelevant. Every species comes here eventually, every world ends. You may run, you may resist. But my archive will endure long after your ashes are scattered in the dark." Malik raised the crystal, holding it like a weapon. "Not if we destroy it." The chamber trembled. For the first time, the curator's voice wavered, not with fear, but with something like amusement. "You believe you hold power over me. That fragment you carry is but a spark from my heart. To wield it is to light a match against a star." Alina stepped beside Malik, her jaw set. "Then we'll light the match." The curator straightened, its form towering until it scraped the vaulted ceiling. Its final words before the chamber darkened sent a chill through all three of them. "Then you, too, will join the exhibit." The floor split open beneath their feet, and the humans were swallowed by light. Light swallowed them whole. For a heartbeat, Elena thought she was falling through endless sky, her body weightless, her mind scattered. Then the light dimmed, and the world around her snapped into horrifying focus. She was standing on Earth, or something that looked like Earth. Blue skies stretched overhead. A breeze carried the scent of pine and wet grass. In the distance, children's laughter echoed across a small village square. Wooden houses lined cobbled streets. People moved, smiling, talking, going about lives that seemed real. Li Wei stumbled forward, his voice breaking. It's home." Malik's scanner beeped weakly, its screen filled with static. "No, it's an enclosure. Another habitat." We've been playing his stomach twisted. The realization was crushing. They hadn't escaped the zoo. The curator had placed them in its ultimate display, a new cage crafted just for them. The villagers noticed the newcomers. Their smiles widened, and they began to walk closer, too close. Their faces were warm, kind, but their eyes empty, not a spark of thought behind them. They were puppets, programmed to act human but devoid of souls. Alana gripped her plasma cutter, her chest heaving. "We're not staying here." But Malik's hand shook as he raised the crystal core. "Alana, what if this is all we have left? Look around. They're happy. No war, no hunger, no death. Isn't this what humanity always wanted?" Li Wei spun on him, voice sharp with disbelief. "You can't be serious. This isn't life. It's a coffin made to look like paradise." Malik's face twisted with conflict. His eyes flicked to the children playing, to the perfect skies. But out there it's death. Out there, humanity is gone. Maybe being remembered like this is better than being forgotten. The weight of his words pressed down on them. Elena felt her chest tighten. The curator's voice echoed faintly in her mind, safe, untouched, eternal. No, she clenched her jaw, forcing herself to speak. Being alive means change, it means risk, it means pain. Without that, we're not human. We're just artifacts. The villagers had surrounded them now, smiling, reaching out with hands that felt too soft, too perfect. Their empty eyes watched like mirrors. Malik's grip on the core wavered. He looked at Alina, then Li Wei. "If we use this crystal here, it might collapse the entire zoo. Every cage, every enclosure, the humans, the aliens, gone." Li Wei swallowed hard. "And us with it." Silence fell. The children's laughter was still playing, a broken loop. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady, though her hands trembled. "Then maybe that's the only way. If this zoo stands, humanity isn't remembered, we're displayed. Caged, forgotten. But if we end it, we die as humans, not specimens." For a long, terrible moment, Malik said nothing. Then, slowly, he placed the glowing core into Alina's hands. She looked at her reflection in his eyes, fear, hope, resolve. The villagers pressed closer, their smiles widening into something grotesque. The enclosure's sky rippled like a projection stretched too thin. The zoo was watching, waiting. Elena held the crystal high. Would choose freedom. She slammed it into the ground. The world shattered. The village collapsed in on itself, folding like paper. The sky tore apart, revealing the cold black of space beyond. One by one, cages across the zoo ruptured, spilling light and shadow into the void. The curator's voice screamed in rage, then fractured into static. And then silence. No cages. No zoo. Only the endless stars. Elena floated weightless, Malik and Li Wei beside her, their hands brushing as the void swallowed them. For the first time in what felt like eternity, there were no walls, no exhibits. Just freedom. Her final thought, before the darkness took her, was a whisper carried into the stars. "Where we're human. And we were alive.